Namaskar. And now we are here to present Rabindranath Tagore University from the Madhya Pradesh, one of the state of India, one of the leading state of India, and one of the leading university, Rabindranath Tagore University. We are here for the International Conference for the Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment. Good morning, good afternoon to all, excellence and all the guests. We all gather here to celebrate the International Conference on the Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment, organized by the Faculty of Commerce, Education, Women Development Cell, IQAC, Rabindranath Tagore University, Madhya Pradesh, India in collaboration with EAIC FMS Gurukul Kangri, deemed to be University Haridwar, and Research Foundation of India. Gender equality is the first step to bring the women entrepreneurship in India, and we are here with to discuss the topic about the women entrepreneurship is a hype or a hope. I welcome all the guests in this web conference. Due to this pandemic time, we all here to unite in this time. Days are gone when the women remained in confined with the four walls of their houses. Now they are representing global. In this conference, we are going to see the global representation of women and how they are inculcating the societies. Now, I would like to request Dean of Commerce Department, Dr. Deepti Maheshwari, ma'am, to welcome our all the guests. Please, over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Seema ma'am. Good afternoon, Galaxy of Intellects. On the behalf of the Faculty of Commerce, Education, Women Development Cell, and IQAC of Rabindranath Tagore University, Bhopal, it is indeed my privilege to extend a very warm welcome to Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir Dr. Brahma Prakash Petia, Rabindranath Tagore University, Bhopal, Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir Professor Roop Kishore Shastri, Gurukul Kangri University, Haridwar, and Dr. Saurabh Jain, President of Research Foundation of India, and all eminent speakers. I also extend warm welcome to Dr. Victoria for her cordial support to organize this conference. The empowered woman is powerful beyond measure and beautiful beyond description, quoted by Steve Maraboli. 74 years into democracy, our government continues to drive us in the direction of empowering women to position themselves in building the Indian economy and business sphere. Women are the pillar of our society and they are playing very important role in our community and business sector. Not only India, but the whole world acknowledges their valuable economic and non-economic contribution. Women in our country have always been the front end of the pursuit of equal rights during the liberalization struggle. To gather the various ideologies across world towards women empowerment through women entrepreneurship and to push the thought process of the researcher, WDC RNTU host the international web conference titled as Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment in collaboration with Gurukul Kangri University, Haridwar and Research Foundation of India. I am sure these 2 days will be the productive days for all the participants as they will get the hidden insights of the women entrepreneurship, women empowerment, and will also be able to explore the new dimensions of this subject. I would like to give a pause to my speech with the quote of Rabindranath Tagore: "Beauty is the truth's smile when she, beloved, beholds her own face in a perfect mirror." Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, with the permission of all the guests and all the dignitaries, I would like to share brief profile of all the speakers. Ma'am, can we share the brief profile now?
Please, please. Please share, Seema ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Ma'am, is it visible now?
Yes, Seema.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Now, I would like to read all the brief profiles of the speakers. There is a line to Pooja Sanchiti ma'am.
Seema, it is not visible. Please visible the profile. Click on that.
Okay, okay. Just a sec, ma'am. Ma'am, now it is visible.
It is visible, but you have to click on the profile. The profiles are not visible. Your screen is visible, but not the profiles.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Just a sec, ma'am.
If you double click the profile, it will be visible.
And visible है?
Yes, सीमा, आप कंटिन्यू कीजिए प्लीज.
Okay. Pooja Sanchiti, Deputy Director, PDR, CS, CPS, SQS, Sultanate of Oman. Pooja Sanchiti has obtained her master degree in English Language Literature from Himachal Pradesh University in India and has recently submitted her MPhil thesis. She has collective experience for more than 20 years in teaching in English to young adults, training in middle school teacher. Currently, she is the Deputy Director for Professional Development and Research at Center of Preparatory Studies in Sultanate of Oman. Pooja Sanchiti has participated in initiated several material development and review projects. She has been actively participating in the social service project pertaining to saving the environment. Pooja ma'am research interest area including EFL teachings and teaching approaches. She believed that young minds learn better by looking a right example and education reforms are the first step towards the social reform. Now we have our next speaker, Dr. Kalyana Chakravarti Thirurangram, PhD. Sir has interest in has a business communications and he has done his PhD in MA English, BA diploma in TESOL America, specialized in ETL and EFL and ESL and ESP. Business English, technical English, webinar, online sessions, material writing, developments, curriculum designs. He has been a training teacher and international speaker and student on employability and soft skill since 2002 through the guest lectures, workshop and FDP and MDP on the various managerial skills at the university and institution across the India and Engineering Staff College, Asian School of Business Management, ASBM University, and Academic Staff College, Osmania University. Sir have some corporate trainings clients also. He has done RSTI, Cement Intergraph, BDL, Power Grid Corporations, Water and Land Management Training and Research Institutions. Sir has been giving training in the life skills certified, communication skills, cross-culture communications, crisis communications, managerial skills, lateral thinking, stress management and team leadership, outbound activities, and stress management too. He has written some of the books, ELTN, Oman and India, Experiment in EFL, ESL, ESP, and Call 2017. Presented interactive live all India radio TV show, YouTube employability skill enhancement for the success, method of teaching and soft skills. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now we have our next speaker. Dr. S. Anusuchia, ma'am. Ma'am has earned his bachelor degree and research master and doctorate in the history of renowned University of Madras, Tamil Nadu. She commenced her academic career as a guest lecturer and visiting lecturer in the University of Madras, Eastern University, Sri Lanka, University of Columbia, Sri Lanka. She possesses more than 25 years of experience in the teaching and research. Her research includes history, anthropology, cultures, gender studies, women empowerment, social work, sustainable development, entrepreneurship. She has published more than 40 research papers to her credit and listed as author in a Google Scholar. She has delivered more than 70 sessions and special guest lectures across the globe in the field of history, gender equalities, history, minorities, women development, culture, and she organized numerous workshops and the seminar and the conferences for upbringing the women's culture and education. Ma'am has external examiner and doctoral thesis for the University of Madras, Annamalai University. She has been keynote speaker and reviewer to many of the index journal and the conference in the Sri Lanka and abroad. Ma'am has participated actively on the syllabus of graduation's honors degree, University of Erindum, Zafanam, Sri Lanka. She has a life member of the Royal Aesthetic Society, Colombo, Sri Lanka. She is currently serving as the head and the senior lecturer in the Department of Social Science and founding director for the Centers of Gender Studies under the Faculty of Art Culture in Southeastern University of Sri Lanka. Her extracurricular activities and community development activates in the Southern Eastern University. Ma'am has been student counselor, chief examiner, member research publication committee, and also she has been serving organizing committee, executive committee members for the board members in the professional bodies, academic association, and non-governmental organization. Ma'am has been Entrepreneurship Development Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, India received prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award in upcoming 7th National Women's Day 2020. We welcome you, ma'am. Now, I would like to give the pause to all the profile briefing. Dean ma'am, afternoon. Deepti ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Now I would like to request Honorable VC Sir, Rabindranath Tagore University to unveiling the souvenir.
Seema ma'am, please share, log out your share.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Please scroll, sir, थोड़ा सा scroll कर दीजिए. Yeah.
Let's give a huge round of applause for the souvenir.
Thank you so much, sir.
This is our souvenir. Now I request Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir Dr. Brahma Prakash Petia, to share his views regarding this conference. Over to you, sir.
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 Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, first of all, I am thankful to the organizers of this international conference on very important subject, that is women entrepreneurship and empowerment. The Rabindranath Tagore University feels privileged to be associated with other very prestigious organizations with full support from Gurukul Kangadi Vishwavidyalaya, Haridwar, and I take privilege to welcome its Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Roop Kishore Shastriji and his team, Dr. Subodh Kumar Jain, Chairman, Research Foundation of India, Dr. Vijay Singh Ji, Registrar of RNTU, highly learned speakers, presenters, and my faculty colleagues from RNTU, students, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all for this conference. We are going to discuss a number of things jointly, which may include the gender effect of potential for entrepreneurship, as mentioned in the introductory note by Dr. Seema. It's a very important topic. And also mapping up of the career motivation for women. And without discussing the problems and opportunities, this conference objectives cannot be achieved. So at our university, we have Women Development Cell, which is working for empowering the women in our adopted villages, where our faculty interact with the women over there, educate them in number of skills related to the financial literacy, education, and also the personality development. We have instituted Women Excellence Awards, recognizing the good and effective social work done by the village ladies to motivate them and others to follow this. When we analyze generally, the men spends more time in office than the women employees. It's just an observation. Now the question arises, what are the circumstances that force this phenomenon? Whether it is a family responsibility, children's responsibility, or some other household work. Actually, we as a society are expecting more from women to go for unpaid work at home. I am repeating, we as a society are expecting more from the women to go for unpaid work at home by sacrificing their ability to contribute in the industry. Now, why? This is not because of they lack talent, but it is because of the expectations of the society. So two things are important: talent of the woman and the expectations from the society. As a society, are we expecting her to use full talent for the society? But we are not. Particularly for even the family members, also within our family, the female members may not be expecting the other female members of the family to contribute more according to their studies, etc. So this is basically a challenge of social inequality. I put the term, it's not a question of women, it's just a question of challenging our social inequality. I expect all women participants to learn from this webinar to know that nobody will give you the power, but you have to take it. Nobody will give you the power, but you have to take it. I ask all the women listeners, if you cannot fly, then at least run. If you cannot even run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. Means whatever you do, you have to keep on moving forward. And that's the lesson for all the women. If they want to move further, means you have to be in the dynamic situation, not any static situation. Courage does not always roar. Sometimes courage is a quite wise at the end of the day, saying, I will try again tomorrow. So you have to conquer your fear. Basically, the tools are in your hand, whether you are ready to conquer your fear. Ask yourself, what is the worst that will happen? Then push yourself a little further than you dare. Once you start to speak, people will interrupt you, put you down. Take this as a challenge and you will find your own vision, which may never have realized you had. So, a woman with a voice is by definition a strong woman. But the search to find that choice of right voice can be a remarkably difficult. The point which I am saying, you should have a voice, but what kind of voice, the choices has to be difficult. So often people are working hard at the wrong things. Working on the right thing is probably more important than working hard. You are not in competition with other women. You are in competition with everyone. Throw your dream, जो भी आप सपने देखते हैं, in the space like a kite, and you do not know what will bring it back. A new life, a new friends, a new country maybe, because we are having this international thing. Number of our Indian colleagues are outside. The thing women have to learn is nobody gives you power. Just by organizing the conferences like this will never give you the power. You have to just take it, the power. I wish a big success to this international conference, and I hope after the conference, my women faculty colleagues will be in a different mood because they know now if they have to take the power, nobody will give them the power. Thank you very much for giving me the time and patient listening. And once again, on the behalf of Rabindranath Tagore University, I welcome all the listeners. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, the Vice Chancellor. Thank you very much for your very, very enterprising words. Wonderful words.
There was a saying in Hindi, तू खुद की खोज में निकल, तू किस लिए हताश है, तू चल, तेरे वजूद को समय की भी तलाश है, समय को भी तलाश है. There was a saying that a women are the womb of the universe. Now, by giving the pause to this, I welcome Honorable Vice Chancellor, Gurukul Kangri University, Haridwar, India, Professor Roop Kishore Sastry, sir.
Thank you.
Sir?
Hello.
Hello. Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
क्या मैडम सीमा जी?
Yes, sir.
You are सीमा जी ना?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
अच्छा, मैं ऑडिबल हो रहा हूँ, सुनाई दे रहा है?
जी जी बिल्कुल सुनाई दे रहा है सर.
जी. ऑनरेबल वाइस चांसलर साहब, आप स्क्रीन पर नहीं दिखाई दे रहे हैं.
वीसी सर?
आप बिल्कुल दिखाई दे रहे हैं सर.
सर आप नहीं दिखाई दे रहे. पहले तो मैं आपको प्रणाम करता हूँ.
अरे नमस्कार सर.
और
सर स्टॉप शेयरिंग कर दीजिए प्लीज. VC sir, sorry, interrupt you. Petia sir, please stop sharing. So you can visible in all full screen also.
आप विजिबल नहीं है सर, आप सामने आए, पधारे, हम
Yes,
आपको
sir.
मैं
Yeah.
देखना
Yeah,
चाहता हूँ.
yeah. Now sir is visible.
Now sir is visible. VC sir?
Now he is visible. Right.
Sir,
Very good.
there is mute. VC sir, mute है आप.
मेरा म्यूट है.
ना जी, आप ऑडिबल है.
अब आ रही है आवाज मेरी? आ रही है?
हाँ जी सर. अभी मुझे ये नहीं मालूम था कि लेडीज की आवाज बंद हो गई है और आप शुरू हो गए, नहीं तो मैं पहले अनम्यूट कर.
नहीं, मैं तो आपको ढूंढ रहा हूँ, खोज रहा हूँ, कहाँ है वीसी साहब. और अब आपके दर्शन हो रहे हैं, तो मैं आपको पहले प्रणाम करता हुआ,
वेरी काइंड ऑफ यू.
और सबसे पहले मैं आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी, टैगोर यूनिवर्सिटी और गुरुकुल कांगड़ी यूनिवर्सिटी के साथ जो एक कोलैबोरेशन हुआ और एक एमओयू हुआ, आज मैं समझता हूँ ये दूसरा हमारा ऑफिशियली पहला है. एक अनऑफिशियली बिना उसके एमओयू के हुआ था.
जी सर, उस पर
तो मैं सबसे पहले गुरुकुल कांगड़ी विश्वविद्यालय की ओर से आप सभी जो इस वेबिनार पर उपस्थित हैं, मैं सबका हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूं, स्वागत करता हूं और ये बधाई देता हूं सर आपको और आपकी यूनिवर्सिटी को और आपकी पूरी टीम को कि आपने एक ऐसे विषय को चुना जो बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट है और आज ये इतना रिलेवेंट है कि जितना इसका प्रचार और प्रसार किया जाए, जिस तरह से वीमेन के एम्पावरमेंट का विषय आपने उठाया है, ये इसकी सख्त जरूरत है. और आज मैं ये सोचता हूं कि पूरे देश ही नहीं बल्कि विश्व में वीमेन्स का आगे बढ़ना ये समाज के लिए बहुत हितकारी है. और एक समाज को जितना सशक्त कर देंगे, जो हमारा एक इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट है, उसको जितना मजबूत करेंगे, जितना सशक्त करेंगे, उतना आपका जो एक संस्था है, पारिवारिक संस्था है, एक समाज नाम की संस्था है, और दूसरी एक राष्ट्र नाम की संस्था है, और चौथी एक विश्व नाम की संस्था है. तो एक छोटी इकाई से लेकर बड़ी इकाई तक, इसका मतलब यह है कि व्यष्टि से लेकर के समष्टि तक अगर बढ़ने का अगर एक जुनून पैदा करना है, तो इन जो देवियां हैं, जो विमेन एम्पावरमेंट को सशक्त करना पड़ेगा. ये हमारे अपने आज का ही ये संदर्भ नहीं है, बल्कि ये वैदिक पीरियड से ही इस प्रकार का जोर दिया जाता रहा कि जहां पर प्रारंभ में ही सभी की शिक्षा और सभी के समान अधिकार, बिना शोषण के समाज की संरचना, ये एक प्राचीन काल का एक सामाजिक ढांचा था. लेकिन बीच के पीरियड में जो बिगड़ा वो रूप और बिगड़ता ही चला गया. परंतु आज हम सबके सब उस दौर में चल रहे हैं जिस दौर में कंप्यूटर है, जिस दौर में हाथ में सारी दुनिया है. आप एक क्षण में चाहे किसी दुनिया के किसी भी कोने से संपर्क कर सकते हैं. तो ऐसी स्थिति में हमारी ये जितनी भी देवियां हैं, ये नारी समाज है, स्त्री समाज है, इसको जितना सशक्त कर सकते हैं उतना ही ये दुनिया सशक्त होगी, राष्ट्र सशक्त होगा, समाज सशक्त होगा, परिवार सशक्त होगा. ये मैं इसलिए कह रहा हूं क्योंकि मैं कुछ ऐसे टर्म्स हैं जो यूज किए गए हैं वैदिक लिटरेचर में भी और एशियन लिटरेचर में भी. जैसे एक शब्द बड़ा हमारे यहाँ प्रयोग होता है, जिसे कहा जाता है ना कि कई बार आता है कि यत्र नार्यस्तु पूज्यन्ते रमन्ते तत्र देवता, कि जहां पर स्त्रियों का सम्मान होता है वहां पर देवलोक, वहां पर परमात्मा की, देवताओं की ब्लेसिंग्स विराजती है. और जिस परिवार में इन देवियों का सम्मान या इनको आदर या इनको नहीं पूछा जाता या इनको छोटा समझा जाता है, वहां पर सर्वाह अफलाह क्रिया कहा है कि सारी की सारी जो एक्टिविटीज हैं वो निष्फल मानी गई है. ये शास्त्रों ने कह दिया, लेकिन हमने उनको कितना माना ये अलग रहा. परंतु हमारी ये जो एक कंसेप्ट है, एक वैदिक कंसेप्ट है, इस सोसाइटी की कंसेप्ट है कि हमने परिवार से ही, एक इंडिविजुअल यूनिट से ही इनको सशक्त करना है. ये रूप है एक बिटिया का, एक बहन का, एक माँ का, एक दादा, तो दादी, नानी, न जाने कितने रूप एक ही चीज से पैदा होते हैं. और यही जो बिटिया है, यही जो स्त्री तत्व है, ये पुरुष को ही कई गुना बना देता है। ये पुरुष को दादा भी बना देती है, ये पुरुष को नाना ही बना देती है, ये पुरुष को ससुर भी बना देती है, पति बना देती है, ये पुत्र भी बना देती है, न जाने क्या क्या रूप बना सकती है। ये अगर कोई पावर है तो इस स्त्री तत्व में है, लेडीज में है, इस नारी जाति में है। इसलिए इसको जितना हम सशक्त करें उतना हम सशक्त होंगे। माँ जितनी सशक्त होगी, माँ जितनी नॉलेज वाली होगी, माँ जितनी कर्मशील होगी, जितनी उद्यमी होगी, उतना ही उसकी संतान पर उतना संस्कार अधिक से अधिक पड़ेगा। तो ये समझिए कि एक छोटी यूनिट को सशक्त कर दिया ना, तो ऐसे ही एक छोटी यूनिट से बड़ी यूनिट बना करती है, एक व्यष्टि से समष्टि बना करती है। हमारी परंपरा है कि हम व्यष्टि से समष्टि की ओर चलते हैं, हम समष्टि से व्यष्टि की ओर नहीं आते। हम आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं, आगे बढ़ते रहना चाहिए। ये एक भाव है, ये एक संस्कार है, ये एक विचार है, ये एक कंसेप्ट है। इसलिए इन देवियों के लिए जो शब्दों का प्रयोग हुआ है, वो देवी शब्द का एक बहुत बढ़िया शानदार प्रयोग शब्द है। आजकल हम किसी मैडम की जगह किसी देवी कहते हैं तो बुरा मान जाएगी, लेकिन उसे ये पता नहीं है कि मैडम का कोई खास अर्थ नहीं है। लेकिन देवी के मैं यहाँ पर कई अर्थ बताता हूँ आपको वीसी साहब। देवी एक संस्कृत की रूट है, वो है दिव्य धातु है, और दिव्य का मतलब है द्युति, कांति और दीप्ति, प्रदीप्ति, एक्टिविटी, ये सारे उसमें अर्थ हैं कि जो द्योतित हो, जो हमेशा शोभायमान हो, परिवार में रहे, सोसाइटी में रहे, देश में रहे, जिसकी कांति, जिसकी द्युति, जिसका प्रकाश और जिसका तेज और जिसका प्रतिष्ठा सारे इस देश, समाज और सोसाइटी में होती है, ये उस देवी का नाम है। और दूसरा है कि देवो दानात, अर्थात जो हमेशा देने का ही काम करती है। इसने परिवार में कितने लोगों के रोजगार को बचाती है, नौकर के रोजगार को बचा देती है, वॉशमैन को बचा देती है, प्रेसमैन वाले को बचा देती है, एक ट्यूटर को बचा देती है, एक रसोइया को बचा देती है। कितने रूप हैं इसके, इसलिए बहुधा रूपा इयं देवी कहा है। क्यों? क्योंकि इसने जन्म से लेकर के और आखिरी जीवन के क्षण तक इस सोसाइटी को, इस परिवार को दिया है, इसलिए देवी है। और आज हम किसी को ये कहें देवी तो वो माने कि हमने न जाने कहाँ का हमको कुछ कह दिया। देवी एक बहुत ही अत्यंत पवित्र शब्द है। तो इसलिए मैं एक तो ये कहूंगा कि देवी शब्द का प्रयोग करें, इससे उनकी दिव्यता पैदा होती है। देवी माने दिव्यता, ये देवताओं के लिए ही प्रयोग होता है शब्द। ये दिव्य जिनके अंदर पावर है उनके लिए प्रयोग होता है। तो हमें इनको बहुत आगे बढ़ाने का भाव रखना चाहिए। ऐसा रखेंगे तो यहीं से हमें मिलती है ये सरस्वती, हमें मिलती है लक्ष्मी। जब बच्चा पैदा होता है तो कोई ये नहीं कहता कोई कुबेर पैदा हुआ है, लेकिन जब बिटिया पैदा होती है तो वीसी साहब क्या कहते हैं कि लक्ष्मी घर में आई है। लेकिन मैं कहा करता हूँ लक्ष्मी भी आई है और सरस्वती भी आई है। तो इसके अनेक रूप हैं। तो इसलिए अनेक रूपों का ये सोसाइटी एंजॉय करे, और एंजॉय करने का अभिप्राय है कि उसको खूब बढ़ाए, उसके गुणों को पहचाने, उसकी दिव्यता को पहचाने। उससे ही सरस्वती बनती है। और उसको जितना परेशान करोगे, दबाओगे, वो दुर्गा भी बन सकती है। लेकिन दुर्गा का अभिप्राय ये नहीं है कि मार काट करने वाली। दुर्गा का अभिप्राय है कि शोषण, अपराध और जो बुराइयां हैं उनको नष्ट करे, उनको दबाए, उसका नाम दुर्गा है। और ये काम केवल स्त्रियां करती है, काम केवल देवियां करती है, काम केवल महिलाएं करती हैं। परिवार में आप देखते हैं कि और लोग व्यसनी हो सकते हैं, लेकिन ये देवियां नहीं व्यसनी होती है। ये बहुत पवित्र विचार की होती है, किसी भी रूप में हो। बिटिया के रूप में वो सहायक है पूरे परिवार। माँ के रूप में तो सब रोल अदा कर रही है, दादी, नानी, बुआ इत्यादि के रूप में सब अपना अपना बहुत शानदार रोल अदा कर रही है। ऐसी इस दिव्य गुणों से संपन्न नारी को, देवी को जितना हम उद्यमी बनाए, पराक्रमी बनाए, तेजस्वी बनाए, जितना उसको शक्तिमान बनाए, उतना ही हमारी सोसाइटी संपन्न होगी। मैं ऐसी देवियों के लिए, उन समस्त नारी जाति के लिए सादर प्रणाम करता हूँ। बहुत धन्यवाद।
थैंक यू सो मच सर। जैसा कि सर ने कहा, नारियां देविया का रूप होती है, ऐसा हमारे वैदिक संस्कृति में कहा गया है। एज वी नो, it has been given on the Vedic culture of Indian tradition and society. Now giving to the pause of my views, I'm giving over to the Dr. Saurabh Jain, Chairman of Research Foundation of India, to share his views regarding this web conference. Saurabh, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Seema Kumari, Madam.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I would like to congratulate to organizer Ravindranath Tagore University, Bhopal, Gurukul Kangdi Vishwavidyalaya, Haridwar, Innovation Council, Ministry of HRD initiative to organizing such a wonderful international conference on women entrepreneurship and empowerment. I want to say some words about our Vice Chancellor, sir, डॉक्टर प्रोफेसर रूप किशोर शास्त्री जी। शायद इन्होंने जितनी मधुर वाणी से संस्कृत और हिंदी का यूज करके इस बात को समझा दिया है कि एक महिला की क्या उपयोगिता है, वो शायद हम इस चीज को हम दूसरी लैंग्वेज में कभी नहीं समझा सकते हैं। सो अगेन आई वुड लाइक टू वेलकम Dr. Professor Roop Kishore Shastri ji, Honorable Vice Chancellor Gurukul Kangdi University, Haridwar. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Brahma Prakash Pethia ji from RNTU Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. As we know very well, this conference is going to be success because of its attachment of women, we can say. It's obvious reveal the word meaning of women, how we have to encourage to women and what we think we have to learn from women. First and the foremost, I want to congratulate all the organizers and participants for this international conference, Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment. ICWE provide a platform to bring together not only academician, researcher, postgraduate student, but also social work. With this platform, RNTU will make a benchmark for this whole process of making a new search in field of women empowerment. I will like to congratulate RNTU, Gurukul University, for achieving of collecting all the papers from this conference. Submission received from different states like Maharashtra, Himachal, Tamil Nadu, other state of India and out of India. I strongly feel that women empowerment is a major challenge in all over the world. In our well-cultured country, it is essential to empower to women, by which we can form a better perception of society in India. Today, every form the improve the identity of nations like economy, culture, education must be altered and expand by empowering the women that can give a major growth in sustainable development and help to overcome from all the teething trouble. Also, I want to be discuss over there with some simple example. Economic, social, political, culture, educational factor can be enhanced by raising the concept of women empowerment in all over the world. Eleanor Roosevelt was the first lady of the world according to President Henry S. Truman. She served as a US delegate to the Nation General Assembly, as well as she was instrumental in drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Law. After 40 years of enacting of UDHR, women's rights are formed for all over the world. Somewhere the condition of low culture countries and high culture countries are still facing challenges to continuously improving the league of women's society. So I would like to express my appreciation to all the faculties, students, members of RNTU, Gurukul University and Research Foundation of India for their hard work and relentless efforts for ICWU 2021. So thank you very much. Special thanks to Dr. Deepti Maheshwari Madam and Dr. Seema Madam to organizing such a wonderful conference. Thank you very much. Over to you, Dr. Seema.
Thank you, sir. Sir, actually, it's thanks to all our other team. Now, I would like to, without wasting our time, I would like to invite our first speaker, Pooja Sanchiti ma'am, Deputy Director, Professional Development, Research and Community Services, Center for Preparatory Studies, Sultanate Kuwait University from Oman. Ma'am, now you can share your views. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Can I now share my screen? Is it possible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just a second. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Yes, very much visible.
So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me for this session today. I'm really happy to be a part of this conference focusing on such an important topic, such as women empowerment and entrepreneurship. As you can see, my session this afternoon is built around a pertinent question: why empower? I hope together we can take this further and have a conclusive discussion. I think you will realize that most of what I'm going to say will resonate what Dr. Brahma Prakash Petia has just touched upon. Let me give you a brief overview of what I intend to cover in the session today. To begin with, I'd go over the meaning of empowerment, then why we should empower women. We'll then look at differences between empowerment and equality. After that, we'll go over what women in our society really need. We will also look at different types of independence. Next will be the support that women need. And just before the end, we will focus on the role of education in bringing the desired change. Now let's start by looking at the common definitions of the word empowerment. According to a simple dictionary definition of the term empowerment, it refers to the act of empowering someone or something where the power, right, and authority is granted. So it clearly indicates that it happens through an external agent. Someone else is responsible for giving another the power. However, one of the most popular online resource of today's time, Wikipedia, presents it slightly differently. It has stated that empowerment is the degree of authority and self-determination in people. It enables them to represent their interests in a responsible way, acting on their own authority. The keywords autonomy and self-determination indicate that empowerment is actually intrinsic and must be sought from within. I personally quite agree with the idea. Isn't it true that when we expect one to empower the other, we are keeping them in a position of authority, a position of superiority? Aren't we agreeing to the fact that they have something that the other doesn't have? Let us now look at the concept of women empowerment. I'd like to understand it. I would like to understand, where does this concept actually come from? When did it start to come in being? And why do we have to talk about empowering the women? Is there an assumption that we will need to be empowered because we will need to empower them because they lack it intrinsically? The concept was most likely devised due to the reasons that I've just stated on my slideshow, because of the status of women in the society, whether it's local, regional, or global, or due to the imbalance of roles and responsibilities. It could be due to the lack of equal rights and opportunities. It could also be due to years of suppression and compromise that women have had to face. We cannot deny that we live in a patriarchal society, and we have now definitely learned to oppose it, because it's the males who are given most of the power by the system. I agree that it's unfair, and we must demand sustainable reforms in this practice. However, the opposite of patriarchal society would be matriarchal society, where the power would lie with the women if applied at all. Is it the change that we seek? Will it resolve the issue of inequality? As per my understanding, no. Once again, it's the equality that should be focused on. Equal rights, equal opportunities, and equal entitlements. Our focus should be a social system that provides equal powers to everyone, or at least one that makes provisions for the same. So if we now look at the differences between empowerment and equality, and focus on the nuances of the two terms, we will see that empowerment doesn't always have a positive or constructive meaning, unfortunately. In fact, the way it's used, it could probably have a discriminatory undertone. Whereas equality promises an ideal social setup and freedom from discrimination and imbalance. So what is it that women really need in the society, whether it's the Indian society or the global society? Do they need empowerment? Yes, why not? But this is with the feeling and effort of empowering self, not seeking it from external factors. Do they need acceptance? I'm sure you'd agree that women struggle to be accepted in society many a times as who they really are. If faced doubts, allegations, and questions for smallest of things. Therefore, it is of prime importance that they be accepted as naturally as possible without any judgments. Do they need independence? Definitely. And we will very soon discuss the different types of independence. This will come a little after this slide. Do they need equality? Most definitely, I'd say. Lack of equality is probably the root cause of almost all social issues surrounding women. Do they need opportunities? Yes. Yes. Somebody needs to mute the mic. Yeah. Sorry. So yes, definitely they need opportunities based on their talent, ability, and interests. Do they need a support system? For sure. If we intend to see the shift in the social paradigm, a solid support system is a must. We will cover the essentials of a successful support system very soon. Now, we're going to look at independence at multiple levels. Keshav Chandra Mandal has elaborated on types of empowerment that women need. However, for the reasons that I just discussed a little while ago, I'd like to use the term as types of independence instead of types of empowerment. I feel that focusing on independence of women at multiple levels will lead to gender equality. To begin with, social independence is definitely most prominent in and is probably the first step against gender discrimination. Social independence allows women to choose their positions in the social structure and recognizes their contribution to the social fabric. Educational independence of women refers to not being denied education and getting a chance to be on equal footing with men. It provides them the right to knowledge, access to skill growth, and an opportunity to be self-sufficient. Education leads to awareness and consciousness, which helps in feeding back into the society. So this way, the cycle can go on. Next is economic independence. Being financially independent can make women more confident and self-reliant. Economic independence of women should definitely be promoted. It doesn't necessarily mean that all women have to work for money or take up a job, but they should have their own share to the family's income and financial resources. And you'd agree to me that Dr. Brahma Prakash Petya also suggested that unfortunately we live in a society where we expect more from women we expect them to go for unpaid work most of the times. It's the expectation of the society, unfortunately. Let us now talk about political independence, which refers to the idea of being able to voice the political opinions and ideologies. Women should have an equal role in decision-making, creating policies, and designing rules and regulations at both governmental and organizational levels. I'm sure you'd agree that if we don't have women at such positions, they're likely to be disadvantaged. We would continue to remain the disadvantaged sect of our society. Last but not the least is psychological independence. This probably should have been the first one for us to discuss, as it represents the right to having personal opinions. This could help women in breaking away from social and cultural expectations and moving away from taboos and obligations. It allows women to be in charge of their own being in the true sense, where they're not bogged down by what's expected of them, that they have a certain role to play and they cannot step out of that role. They have to break away from all these ideologies. And we must remember that all these categories are intertwined and the total separation from one another isn't really possible. Let's look at the support system that we must have. There is certainly a need of a very strong support system so women can take on their independence guilt-free and focus just on the task at hand. Unfortunately, we lack the social setup that lets women thrive professionally or otherwise. There are too many impositions and undue expectations that tie them down, which is what I just mentioned a few seconds back. Many claim that women shouldn't tolerate such social norms holding them back and should break themselves free from the impositions. But we all know it's easier said than done. Yes, familial and social support are important, but equally important are support extended by the organization and the country. Organizations, for example, could provide childcare facilities for women or working mothers to encourage maximum productivity. Similarly, national policies could make provision for flexible work hours for women to maintain balance among various duties. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that women work for fewer hours than men, but they could probably be given flexibility as per the needs of their roles and responsibilities. There should also be stipulations for financial support extended to viable small-scale projects to encourage independence in women, financial independence in women especially. Now, how do we really plan to achieve this change? According to me, education is undoubtedly the key here. Reaching out to the families and society through the academic curriculum is what I'd like to suggest. The concept of social responsibility should be included in school curriculum and should focus on raising awareness about gender equality and its benefits to the society as a whole. The practice of the concept will, with time, bring the theory closer to the reality. Younger generation would learn to be accountable for impacting society and the culture in turn. Let us now briefly look at the concept of social responsibility and how it has been explained in the literature. Actually, social responsibility is an ethical theory in which individuals are accountable for fulfilling their civic duties, and the actions of an individual must benefit the whole society, not just the individual, but a collective kind of responsibility. It is also recognized as an individual's ability to affect the change through a variety of socially responsible action projects, such as volunteering, participating in community-based projects and initiatives, etc. Now, if we talk about how social responsibility could be integrated in our curricula, whether it's at school level or university level. You know, I'm just sharing an example here with you that we could give out social action projects to students that are carried out for the good of others. And, you know, we don't realize it works at the subconscious level if we start very early. And it brings that concept of empathizing with the society, not just women, but everyone in the society. Social action projects are principled and well planned, and they make use of the local and global links. They bring together people, organizations, and networks to improve the well-being of the wider community. Students could be asked to focus on a social problem, in our case here, related to any type of independence, for example. They could then work towards bringing the positive change to resolve the problem. Topics of the action project may be built around individual roles in benefiting the society, and then, you know, take it from there. Yes, we are talking about really small steps, but these are steps in the right direction, I feel, and wouldn't just affect the current generation, but would impact parts of society that aren't really directly involved. I mean to say, if our children start working on such projects, they can, you know, impact their parents and grandparents and the society around them, which would have an overall impact on the change that we need to see, the change that we are looking forward to, you know, and then maybe contribute to social reforms. Once again, I'd like to reiterate before bringing this talk to a close that we should talk about equal opportunities for women and intrinsic empowerment, because in mind, we don't need anyone to give us power. We have it within us. Yes, sometimes we need reminders and a few times strong shakes, but we all have it. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen, and I will bring this presentation to a close. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And here are the references for anybody's reference.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was wonderful.
I'd be happy to answer if there are any questions.
Yes, audience, is there any questions? Ma'am, we will take up the question at the last session. Now, I would like to request to invite Dr. Kalyana Chakravarti, international speaker, visiting professor, life skill coach, teaching and training in India, Myanmar, Oman, Turkey, and Maldives. Over to you, sir, to share your views regarding the web conferences. Sir. Yes, sir.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir.
Good morning, everybody. And my colleagues from India, Oman, RNTU, Gurukul Kangadi Vishwavidyalaya, Honorable Vice Chancellors of Gurukul Kangadi Vishwavidyalaya and Rabindranath Tagore University, and all the honorable noble ladies who have been working hard for the last 1 month or 2 months to give it a shape to this international webinar on women entrepreneurship and empowerment. I deem it a privilege to be able to speak few words in front of all of you. And my special thanks to the team behind this seminar. All the names are known to you, but my special thanks to go to Ms. Pooja and Dr. Victoria and Zainab Al-Balushi and all the friends over there in Oman. In this pandemic situation, which is becoming an endemic now, I'm glad that something useful is happening. And I appreciate both the universities, and I suggest that various webinars, intercultural webinars, interdisciplinary studies, and multidisciplinary research has to be taken up focusing not only on women empowerment, but various skill development activities. That's a real thing which is going to benefit the faculty, researchers, and all the students. So with this brief background, let me share my PPT. Organizers, is it okay to share? Yeah. Is it visible, ma'am?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Am I audible also equally?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, RNTU, Gurukul Kangdi University, Research Foundation of India, and our new academic association through this webinar, Sultan Qaboos University, and many friends who have logged into this. Let me begin. How much time do I have, ma'am? Okay.
Sir, 30 minutes.
So here there is a request from Lisa Vance, the founder of Higher Education Training for Teachers, HETT Canada, with whom I am associated as a volunteer teacher from India. She excused herself because today she is awfully busy. So tomorrow she will join us. Yeah, so the place of women in India and the rest of the world. I remember an Indian Sanskrit quotation which says, Bhojyeshu Mata, Karyeshu Dasi, Karneshu Mantri, Sheneshu Rambha, Shamaya Dharitri. There could be some mistake here and there because it is Sanskrit. But the gist of it is, it's a great expectation from women. It means, for the sake of English speakers and international participants, let me interpret. A woman is supposed to be like a mother at the time of giving food. I mean, arranging dinner or whatever. Then, like a dasi, it means a servant or a maid. She should be helping her husband, children, father, whoever it is, or in-laws. That is the expected characteristic. Then she should be like a mantri, administrator, or an advisor in various activities going on at home. It means all the activities, the center point is women. Then Sheneshu Ramba, okay, leave it, people understand. Then Kshamaya Dharitri. On the whole, after doing all these activities, if any energy, anything remains, she may be frustrated, rejected, dejected, tired, whatever it is, but she should be like Dharitri. That means Bhumi, the earth, Mother Earth. Like Mother Earth, she should have Kshamaguna, that is forgiving. Forgiving people. Maybe husband, maybe son, maybe brother, maybe grandfather, anybody. So all these expectations are there. And it is said somewhere in Puranas or Vedas. I don't remember now, but it's a quotation I picked up. Okay, that is one side. Then other aspect. Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, which means mother is like God, father is like God, then Acharya, Guru, teacher is like God. So the first place is given to Mata, noble women again. Then we say Bharat Mata, Mother India, Adi Parashakti, Durga, whatever. Then Sita Ram, because Ramji's name is always added with Sita, and Sita comes first. Then Radhe Krishna, Lord Krishna's name also is added to Radha. So that is a prominence given. Then I remember Chhatrapati Shivaji's mother's role. Chhatrapati Shivaji, the history says the great warrior and king, emperor of Maharashtra dynasty. He became a great warrior, but his mother's role shouldn't be ignored, because she used to narrate a lot of stories, warrior stories, to young Shivaji, so that because of her continuous grooming and what do you call that, classical conditioning theory, conditioning continuously in psychology and behavioral sciences, we talk about classical conditioning theory. So she made him a warrior. Then the epic Mahabharata says that Abhimanyu, before taking birth, was listening to that Padma Vyuha, the war strategy, much before he was given birth in the womb of the mother. So all these things tend to give an idea that a role of woman is held high in our scriptures, in our Vedas, various things, and the world knows about it. Then suddenly, these feministic ideologies came into force. Right from Virginia Woolf to Shobha De, Arundhati Roy, and so many feminist writers, Indian women writers, or international women writers. Margaret Atwood in Canada. So all these, they started talking about equal rights for women. In India, of course, we have been giving that prominence to women, but somewhere there is in the heart of hearts, in the mind of minds, there is an ideology saying that still women are not given that empowerment or that equality. Okay. But on the whole, societies and cultures across the world conveniently have put forth their own interpretation and explanation about positioning women in the society. Let me remind you, about 80 years ago, if I'm not wrong, in India, girls used to get Kanya Shulk, that is dowry. Much before fathers used to sell their houses to pay to the boy, suitable boy, in modern days, this happened. Dowry was given to girls from the boys and their family. It's a different story now. It is still a practice in some tribes and families. I mean, giving dowry to the girl. It is still seen in the Middle East, even including Oman and other Arab countries, because I spent some years there. I know the social customs. Still, girls are lucky to get some money from the boy. That's a very good practice. And tribes in India and other parts of the country, some tribes follow women-centric, matriarchal administration. It is still prevailing. I heard that in some tribes of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh in India, still women are leading the families in these societies, in some communities. Now, let's move on to global sustainability goals, sustainability development goals, rather say. So there are 17 enlisted global sustainability development goals. Number 4 is quality education, and 5 is gender equality, which is, I think, concerned to our theme today, women empowerment and entrepreneurship. So I do not know clearly, I don't have any data to prove that gender equality is already gained. It is still going on. But just to remind you, the 5th goal is gender equality. Okay. Now, based on these SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, this model comes to my mind. Human intelligence, artificial intelligence, skill development, industry academia tie-ups, empowerment of human capital. It includes women also. Then employment opportunities. Then that leads to overall economic growth. This is the idea which just came to my mind. And the link to this and the implementation part, that is a big story. I think in another webinar, I think we can take it up separately, anywhere, national or international. But let's move on. Now, this is a news item recently published in some newspaper. I just picked up. Rising from the Ashes, a statue of a woman by Lebanese artist Hayat Nazar, made out of broken glass, rubble, and a damaged clock, which is appearing at the center at the feet of this standing woman, marking the time 6:08 p.m. of the mega explosion at the port of Beirut, is placed opposite the blast site in the Lebanese capital. On August 4, a massive stockpile of ammonium nitrate exploded at the Beirut port, killing 190 people, injuring over 6,000 and leaving more than 300,000 displaced from their homes. But I appreciate the artist who has chosen to make a statue of a woman. That is indirectly saying that whatever distraction you do, but the woman power is so much that they rise from the ashes, like a phoenix bird, that Greek mythical bird phoenix, which has a habit of falling into fire, get itself burnt, then from the ashes, it resurrects again. Okay. Now let us look at the Nobel Prizes awarded to women 2020. They are joint winners in chemistry. Emmanuel Carpentier for the development of a method for genome editing. Then Jennifer A. Doudna from USA for the development of a method for genome editing. 2020 data. Then let us look at some of the Indian scientists. Asima Chatterjee, between 1917 and 2006, University of Calcutta. She worked in the field of organic chemistry, phytomedicine, and in some institutions of Calcutta she worked. She is considered to be one of the eminent women scientists in India. Now let us look at the history of Nobel Prizes. The Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences have been awarded to women 58 times between 1901 and 2020. It means almost 100 or odd years. No? Right. Only one woman, Marie Curie, has been honored twice, the Nobel Prize in Physics and the 1911 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. So 2 Nobel Prizes were awarded. This means 57 women in total have been awarded the Nobel Prize between 1901 and 2020. You calculate, is it roughly 100 years or more? Then let us look at empowering women. Our government, Indian government, recently established 11 chairs in the universities or various agencies, academic and scientific organizations, in the names of Indian women scientists at various Indian institutes to recognize and encourage women in the field of science. I think the pictures are visible here. Yeah. From various fields, Dr. Archana Sharma, Dr. Janaki, Dr. Darshan, Dr. Asima, Dr. Kadambini, Dr. Airavati, Dr. Anna Mani, Dr. Rajeshwari, Dr. Raman, Dr. Bibha, Dr. Kamal Rana Didi. So these people. That's a great recognition for women. Then Let us look at this wonderful lady, Valentina Tereshkova from Russia, former Russia. Everybody knows her story, but I thought this is the right time in this August gathering. Let us talk about some successful women who have done something unique in their lives. Then our own Bachendri Pal, the first women to climb Mount Everest. Then all women sailors crew. I hope somebody must have seen this in YouTube because there is a movie picturized by or filmed by National Geographic, and many channels have televised it. Indian naval sailing vessel Tarini, INSV Tarini, with an all-women crew, sailed from INS Mandovi Boat Pool, Goa, the western province, India, on 10 September 2017. This is the first ever Indian circumnavigation of the globe by an all-women crew. That's an achievement. The crew was expected to return to Goa in April 2018 on completion of the voyage. They did. The expedition was covered with stopovers at 4 ports, namely Fremantle, Australia, Lyttelton, New Zealand, Port Stanley, Falklands, and Cape Town in South Africa. There was a forced technical halt at Port Louis, Mauritius, crossing the equator twice and passing through 3 oceans. Wonderful achievement. Look at the size of the boat. It's not a big ship or a steamer. It's a small boat with some modern amenities. But imagine the oceans. How did they travel? These 5 women. That's a really great achievement. And who says women are not empowered? Women are weak. We can't say now. And this is the map showing how did they traveled from Goa to various parts, taking a big round through the oceans and again coming back to Goa. It took almost 1 year to complete this expedition. And their training, you can see these wonderful ladies. And one of them is from this Hyderabad area, whom I had a wonderful opportunity of meeting her and interacting with her. And I was really inspired by the commitment, the zeal, and the enthusiasm, and that willpower, obviously. The crew was selected in 2014 from 40 applicants out of 500 women naval officers in service. Many candidates, however, dropped out after their families denied them permission out of fear. I think the previous speaker and Honorable Vice Chancellor, somewhere they were saying that the empowerment is not given, they have to be, it has to be taken. Now, some of these ladies couldn't make it because their parents stopped them because of various reasons, maybe they were afraid, or maybe their security, or so many other issues. As parents, people know about this. But still, these ladies came out with a lot of courage. Chosen women were trained to be electrician, plumber, engineer, doctor, chef, navigators, and just about everything they were trained, because survival skills, life skills, are very much important when you are going on an expedition of this magnitude. Prior to the circumnavigation, the crew trained for nearly 3 years, which included theoretical training at various Indian naval schools, then followed by hands-on training on INSV Madei and INSV Tarini. The crew trained under India's first solo circumnavigator, Captain Dilip Donde, till 2016. Somebody said, behind every successful man, there is a woman, or there are women, but here there is a man behind these successful. Then I think somebody's mic is on. Organizers, kindly. Hello. Madam, somebody's mic is on, please.
Sir, we are looking on to that, sir.
Okay. So the training was conducted at the Ocean Sailing Node, Goa, under Captain Atul Sinha. The training was conducted in a phased and a systematic manner, wherein the team undertook various sailings from Goa to Port Bandar, Gujarat, Porbandar, Mumbai, Karwar, Mauritius in 2016-17, and a 43-day voyage from Goa to Cape Town in 2016. Two of the Navika Sagar Parikrama teams also participated in the Cape to Rio race 2007. As part of the training on board, INSV Mahadev, skippered by Captain Atul Sinha from Cape Town, who led a mixed crew of men and women into the race. Such a wonderful example of men and women working and men empowering women here. Team Tarini sailed for 22,000 nautical miles on board INSV Mahadev and INSV Tarini as part of their training. After this tremendous training, vibrant training, they sailed to the long Navika Sagar Parikram. These sailors see circumnavigation of the globe by female officers of the Indian Navy. The 6-member all-women team circumnavigated and managed the whole operation in their first ever global journey on INSV Tarini. The voyage lasted 254 days from 10 September 2017 to 21st May 2018. The boat returned to Goa after traveling 21,600 nautical miles. That is simply equivalent to 40,000 kilometers across the globe, around the globe. The voyage was showcased in Tarini, a documentary jointly produced by National Geographic and the Indian Navy, premiering at an event on 8th March to mark International Women's Day. The voyage prompted National Geographic to start the Girls Who Sailed campaign to tell tales of grit and determination. Such an achievement by these noble ladies. Another achievement, all women pilots flight across the globe. Indian Airlines, empowered women achievement. An all-female pilot team with Air India made history this week when they completed the longest non-stop commercial flight ever operated by an Indian national airline. Heartiest congratulations to Captain Zoya Agarwal, Captain Papagari Tanmay, Captain Akansha Sonaware, and Captain Shivani for flying over North Pole to land in Bangalore from San Francisco, USA. You can look at the visual here. They flew maybe to 30,000 above sea level, 40,000 feet above sea level, then crossed over the North Pole and landed in Bangalore. It's a non-stop flight for 17 hours. So that's a great achievement. Departed San Francisco at 8:30 p.m. local time, Saturday evening. About 17 hours later, it landed in Bangalore on Monday at 3:07 a.m. local time. The flight covered more than 14,000 kilometers, which simply means 8,698 miles, and the longest flight, and is the first to directly connect the US to southern India. These are the ladies. This is the team. Then when Captain Agarwal was asked any comments, she says, I quote, "We are India's daughters who were given the opportunity to make this historic flight," says Captain Agarwal, unquote. Who led the crew, she told CNN, we were able to create a new chapter in the Indian aviation history. Indeed, that's an achievement. Okay, now let us look at the present scenario. You can look at the left and the right of my screen. There is a small text appearing at the top left-hand corner. It's a news item. I collected it from Times of India on 27th October 2020 during the deep pandemic period. Women trapped early in home and caregiving responsibilities can't go out to work, which is a national loss. Somebody studied this. How many women are trapped in the household works? There is no time to think about their career, their skill development, their empowerment. They just serve. And which is considered to be a national loss now. A 2018 report by the McKinsey Global Institute said India's GDP would be $770 billion higher by 2025, after 4 years from now. If women got the same opportunities to work as men, according to Oxfam, unpaid work by Indian women is worth 3.1% of the GDP. You can look at the labor force participation rate at the bottom left corner, female and male ratio. Brazil 53.2 women, male 74.5. Russia, India, you can see 27.2 female and 76.8 male. The labor force participation rate, such a low thing. Then you can look at China, South Africa, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal. Nepal stands high in female participation rate, 82.7 against 85 male ratio. Okay, let's proceed. This is a map given to my right hand side on the screen. Underage, secondary, under all this data is given. Secondary school dropout rates for girls. The color coding is given here in the legend here, bottom right corner, to my right on the screen. Blue, light blue indicates 0 to 10% dropout. Then red indicates 20.1% to 30%. Then dark red or brown indicates that 30.1% dropout rate. Now let us imagine the scenario, what is happening practically. Okay, let's move on. Past and present agenda for future. Okay, having discussed all these things, let's practically get into the point, come to the point. Past to present and agenda for future. What is the agenda for future? Women entrepreneurship training. That is the first agenda, because people are talking about equal opportunities, then workforce, then women have to be empowered. So entrepreneurship has its own role to play. Then awareness of dual roles of women. I mean, domestic duties versus profession. I know many ladies who sacrifice their personal time, life, energy, everything, just for the sake of family. Though they're competent, professionally skilled enough to get any job, but they have some bonded labor kind of thing going on. So in the name of culture or society or family, whatever, they're bound to their family. Awareness of crimes has to be created. Abduction, seduction, acid attacks, burnings, rapes, this should be an awareness for these people. Then let us create an awareness for girls and ladies about the laws protecting women. POCSO, domestic violence, harassment at workplace or home or anywhere. The girls and ladies have to be taught about these things. Equality orientation at home. It begins always at home, because home is the first school for any child, whether it is boy or girl. then the school which we go actually becomes secondary for everybody. Then colleges, universities. Where do we begin? Is it starting at home? Shall we begin at home? Or shall we do it at schools, colleges, or universities, or various workplaces? Then to begin with, whether we accept or not, we have to fight with our grandfathers, father, husband, brother, son, and so many people. Because all these are men in our lives. I mean, as a woman, if you think, all these are first men who we encounter at home. Because there are grandfathers who put restrictions, fathers stop girls from going out, then husbands restrictions and decision making, brothers support or non-support, then sons, so many things. Then some solutions now. Having discussed all these things, let us come to the solutions part. I propose in this August gathering to various national and international academicians, administrators, researchers, and students. Let's think of joint ventures, projects, workshops of Indian and international universities focusing on empowerment and employability. Then let's think of community engagement activities, training in career management for women, and faculty exchange, student exchange programs. For example, Tagore University can visit some other university, or Gurukul Kangdi can visit some other university, or SQ people may be requested to visit India, and Indian faculty researchers can visit there. So many things can be. Or now, thanks to technology, at least online projects can be done. Okay, training women in career management, focus on nutrition for women, skill development for women, leadership roles and glass ceiling, the restrictions for women. Then I would like to mention few initiatives, interventions in India, Myanmar and Oman, which we have done. And by doing all these things, let us look at the blend of ASK, attitude, skills, and knowledge. That is a package expected anywhere. I mean, overall development of students, individuals, whoever it is. Because in our academia, either we focus more on knowledge part or skills part, but attitude part is highly neglected. So once we achieve the blend of this ASK, attitude, skills, and knowledge, at various higher educational institutions or lower educational institutions, schools, colleges, I mean, the blend has to be achieved. That's what I would like to share here. And these are some of the training activities recently. And for the last 10, 15 years, we have been doing this. SBM University, Bhubaneswar. Then at Tagore University also we have done some community engagement workshops. Thankful to that. And sectoral focus, corporate analysis by MBA students, SBM University, which just happened last month. Various activities have been done, improving their creativity, problem solving, critical thinking, which is a buzzword in this academia now. Skill development for future. All these activities have been done and being done anywhere they can be done. Then this is an initiative by Lisa Vance, our speaker for tomorrow, who appears in the center. Higher education training for teachers. We have been interacting and she will be appearing tomorrow. If I request everybody to be present tomorrow, because her contributions for skill development, particularly English language teaching and through community service, a lot of things are there. Some similarities you may find in your research and my interests also. And top left hand corner, you can see my Myanmar student. Unfortunately, because of the recent coup, we are unable to interact. But she's an associate professor, learns English, very studious person. But unfortunately, something happened. Then Myanmar TESOL conference, we have shared all these activities. And every month, all the trainers, volunteer teachers across the globe, we come online and discuss as to how to go about it. And these are my beautiful memories from Oman, my students and my colleagues can vouch for it. We have been doing a lot of activities, training these students, wonderful Omani students. And this is a beautiful Balasit village in Wadi Beni of what do you call, near Rustak area. I think all my Omani colleagues, those who are online, they can simply recognize it. I suggest everybody go and visit there, at least those who are in Oman, because this village, first time in 1999, I had visited. This small, cute village is the joint effort of all the men and women working together. And you know, early morning, women go with pitchers, climb over the mountain, pick up water, and walk down. Such a hard work they do. All their works they have to do there and come down. And there is just one single falaj, the water canal, flowing through these mountains. And with that water, they conserve water like precious gold or diamond. And they created this beautiful greenery there. And recently, May 2018, while coming back from Oman, I visited again and I met the villagers. Still, the greenery is intact. And behind all this success, I think women are there, silently working behind the screens. Like behind this webinar also, so many women have been working silently. Then these are the beautiful artifacts of Oman. And somebody is working silently, though this man is visible here. I'm sure some wonderful women, noble women are working behind it, creating these masterpieces. And this is a community service called Unnat Bharat Abhiyan in India, central government Ministry of HRD initiative. I was a consultant for them and a trainer. So along with the faculty members, research scholars, I visited Mahatma Gandhi University, organized this in Nalgonda, Telangana region in February 2019. And this simple looking woman at the right side of my screen, she collects these waste materials without knowing how much she's contributing to the sustainable environment. And these materials, waste materials, go to the recycling units where very big industrialists are making a lot of money. I asked her, why don't you have one molding machine or melting machine apparatus so that you can mold these things, recycle them and reproduce them, and wonderful things can be created and economically you will be sound. Then she said, sir, I don't know what to do. I'm economically very backward. And she doesn't know where to go. I think such wonderful things will come out when you take up field work as part of your community service, and where women can be empowered also. And she's contributing to waste management, which is a multi-billion dollar industry. Then women and problems, I'm not going into the long list here. At least 155 countries have passed laws on domestic violence and 140 have legislation on sexual harassment in the workplace, World Bank 2020 report. But challenges remain in enforcing these laws, limiting women and girls' access to safety and justice. Not enough is done to prevent violence, and when it does occur, it often goes unpunished because many crimes are not reported by women, especially because maybe social restrictions or family, we don't know, they are suppressed. Once these crimes are not reported, they are not punished. So UN Women, our nation is looking into these aspects. It is a violence against women and girls is a human rights violation actually. Only 40% of women seek help at the time of violence or after violence, whatever. And UN Women is partnering with various governments, various agencies, civil society organizations, etc. to help these people. Then I'm skipping a little bit, forgive me for that. For more than 10 years, UN Women's Global Initiative, Safe Cities and Safe Public Service has worked to prevent all these things, respond to sexual harassment or violence against women. Then since 2017, UN Women has been a key member of the 500 million euros. Some fund is created to help these people in Latin America, Caribbean, and African, Asian countries. That's all from my side. So what I'm requesting all the participants is, this is the focus and initiative we can take this slide, where some solutions I have suggested, and people like me are always there to help you. And nationally or internationally, let us try to do something. Thank you so much. Namaste. Salam alaikum. And good day to everybody. Over to you, Dr. Seema ji and Dr.
So much, sir. It was a wonderful, because of you, we came to know about, it's already been about the Tarini. I have also heard about the Tarini, sir. That was awesome and achievement done by them. And first of all, their guts and courage. Salute to all of them. Now, without wasting any time, I would like to request Dr. S. Anusuchya, ma'am, Head of Department of Social Science, Faculty of Arts and Culture, Southeastern University of Sri Lanka. Ma'am, yes, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you very much. Very good afternoon to everybody. It's a great opportunity for me, given by the Rabindranath Tagore University for the international webinar, Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment, organized by the Department of Commerce and Management. Actually, I am especially thankful to the Vice Chancellor of this university and the Dean of the Faculty of Commerce, Dr. D.P. Mageshwari. And I am really thankful to the speakers who had already spoke about the women entrepreneurship and empowerment. The Vice Chancellor of RNTU University, the Vice Chancellor of Gurukul Ganguri University, and addressed by Subro Jain. She is the Research Foundation of India Chairman, and Pooja Sanchi. She was the Deputy Director Professional Development, Sultanate of Oman. And last, Dr. Kalyan Chakravarti. He really came out with a lot of information about women empowerment and entrepreneurship. It was a great opportunity to listen all the entrepreneurship and empowerment program of women. This type of international organization, this type of international programs should be carried out. And I would like to express my idea that this type of webinars conducted by this university should have a collaborative programs with other developing universities in this region, especially South Asian regions. Now, we are all in developing conditions, and we need to have more empowerment for the for achieving the goals, the Millennium Goals. So, in this context, I would like to thank again the Vice Chancellor of this Rabindranath University and Gurukul University. This program is highly organized by the Dean Faculty Commerce, Dr. D.P. Mageshwari, and everybody really who are involved in this program for the successful of it conference. So really I am thanking all of you who are involved, hardly involved in the organizing this type of international webinar. It's a very good program. I again thank you once again. Actually, I am also going to present my views on entrepreneurship and entrepreneur and empowerment. So why we should go for the entrepreneur and entrepreneurship? First of all, let us talk about the entrepreneur. Who is an entrepreneur actually? He is an individual who creates new business, bearing most of the risk, enjoying most of the rewards. So the process of setting up business is known as entrepreneurship. The entrepreneur is commonly seen as an inventor, a source of new idea, services, and business or procedures. this entrepreneurship is one of the resources economists categorize as integral production, the other three being land, natural resources, labor, and capital. All these are involved in this entrepreneurship. Again, the entrepreneur combines the first three of these to manufacture goods, provide services. They typically create a business plan, hire labor acquisition, resources, and financing, and provide leadership and management for the business. When we come to a women entrepreneurship, it is called globally, women entrepreneurship is increasingly a driver of economic growth and job creation. Why we should go for this economic growth? Once you have a steady and sustainable economic satisfaction in your family, first of all, then only you can create a very peaceful family and the society. Then only we can live in a peaceful way. So the job creation is also important for a woman to live very peacefully and to get her family go ahead with the peaceful progress. Then, according to International Finance Corporation, we can say women entrepreneurs who are both majority owners of their own business and have financial and operational decision-making power over those business. So, majority of women, when they take it their own products, when they are become owners of their business, they really take a power of taking decisions in their business and other economic development. And then when there are a lot of aspects we have already understood and we learned about so many ideas and so many empowerment, so entrepreneurship level of women, how they become more and more economically higher, become higher. There are a lot of ideas are there about improving their entrepreneurship, improving their business in various ways. But first of all, I would like to talk about the barriers. Why they should have a barriers in the society for entrepreneurship or in establishing a business. So in the society, when we start, the women face a lot of challenges in the world, in the home, in her society. So she has to face all those challenges and she have to overcome all those challenges. Then only she can become a successful entrepreneur. So first of all, let us look at the limited access to markets. So this is one of the barriers. She is physically accessing market to sell goods and services. So when it is come to her management, when it is when she is finding difficult for the marketing and other services for the goods, so it is again a challenge to her marketing. Then globalization of production since the 1980s made women's business risk. So in 1980, lot of investments and lot of countries, they were involved in the marketing. So many, especially South Asian region and South Asian regions, they become centers of business. When the globalization took place, all the products came into these regions and they had to sell their products. So then these women face challenges because they cannot sell their own products. Then disruptive technologies again. Then when it's come to a context or network, or when it is regarding the e-contacts or communications to women, sometimes so they fail in their communication skills. So they are unable to operate those systems. Then again, it is a barrier to her business or entrepreneurship. Then again, lack of access to finance. Then again, it is a big major issue regarding the investment or continuing her business. Asia and the Pacific banks are often ill-equipped to meet the women entrepreneurs. So these banks are not having a proper plans to give full support for women for their entrepreneurship. That is the major risk for it.